Hello, 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 hello. Oh my
Hello,
gosh.
everyone.
Hi. Hello, everyone. So I am really, really, really excited to come back to the podcasting world. I had this podcast, Conscious Conversion, for all of 2020, from January through December 2020. I was rocking the podcast, and it was really fun. And then I took a podcast nap in 2021. And now I am back. I'm back with Conscious Conversion. And Conscious Conversion is a weekly podcast about how we bridge the gap between business and spirit, money and meaning, technology and regeneration in a wildly changing world. In a time when there's so much polarity and uncertainty, this podcast explores how together we are connecting across the planet, across our differences, and across dimensions as we build the new earth together. So while last time this podcast was really about digital marketing, and I had very sort of like set questions for my guests about digital marketing and how we use digital marketing in our spiritual businesses. Now everything is on the table. Let's talk about everything. I want to talk about how we can live in the new paradigm while still having to operate in the old paradigm. I want to talk about what does the new paradigm feel like, smell like, taste like, all of this, and how can we bridge the gap from where we are now and to where we want to go. And so welcome to the first episode. I'm your host, Sarah Yemtich, the founder of Conscious Conversion, not just the podcast, but the digital marketing agency, also known as Conscious Conversion. And I have with me today a dear soul and friend, Valentina Sinistera. She actually works with us in the agency, Conscious Conversion, and she is a dear soul family friend I have brought onto the show because doing solo episodes for me is like pulling teeth. I really like to have someone to talk with. I like to have a face to look at. I know all y'all are out there listening, or some of you are, but I need that person that to bounce with and to connect with and to resonate with. And Valentina, thank you so much for being here to help pull out any juicy goodness and contribute all your juicy goodness to this conversation.
I am so excited to be here because I feel like every conversation that we've ever had, not on a microphone, just through, all the means of communication, it's always something that up-levels me. I feel like it expands me. It opens my heart. It helps me see where like any of my blind spots, where I want to be going. So obviously our like work dynamic definitely we've redefined what that means, which we can dive in a little deeper as we get into this conversation, because I think that has a lot to do with the new paradigm and how, we're merging business and human and spirit all into one, because it really is all connected. But yeah, all the conversations that we ever have, I'm just like, how can I package this to re-listen to them later on? And here we are on a microphone, and we get to share this with other people who think in the same way that we do, with expansion and creation and wanting to help everyone around us and lift ourselves up while lifting each other up. So thank you for having me.
Yay. Thank you so
Yes.
much for being here. And thank you all for listening. And yeah, so first off, I think I just want to explain a little bit about what conscious conversion means. And if there's something, Valentina, that you think I miss, because you've been in this conversation for a while, so if there's something that you think I missed, feel free to interject and ask or add. But conscious conversion, for me, it's a play on words. First off, it's alliteration, which I freaking love alliteration. With the double C, and that also is the logo. So I love beauty. I love alliteration, all of this.
She's a Taurus.
I'm a Taurus. But what I also love about it is the double entendre, the double meaning of it, because as this came from my tagline of my agency, which was originally called Resonate with Sarah. And the tagline is reach, resonate, consciously convert. And the reaching is to expand into the infinite universe of souls of people and find that percentage, whether it's tiny or massive, find that percentage of people that are looking for you, that are hungry for what you're doing, and reach into the universe broadly with your messaging. And then once you found them, you resonate with them. So that is like finding them where they're at, in their homes, with their families, wherever they are, resonating deeply with them with your messages. So that means knowing exactly where they are, speaking to them with empathy, and then the next phase is conversion, conscious conversion. So it's not all about sales, it's not all about hustle, it's not all about trying to manipulate somebody into doing something that they didn't actually want to do. It is about consciously converting them. So you've spoken to them with empathy, they feel seen, heard, and understood, and then you've expressed to them how you can serve them. And that's the conversion. So in the back end of like ads manager, for instance, because we do Facebook ads at the agency, you have conversions. You have how many people gave over their email address or how many people purchased your product. That's a conversion. But I'm talking on another dimension of conversion, where it's how are we converting the mainstream to think more regeneratively, to think more expansively, to lean into a new earth paradigm or a new way of doing business, a new way of doing economics, a new way of doing relationships, a new way of doing community. And that conversion that's happening within all of us. That's happening within myself. It's happening within Valentina. It's happening within all of you listeners. It's happening in the mainstream. It's happening in Costa Rica. It's happening in Europe and the United States. That conversion is happening. And how can we do that with as much consciousness as possible? So that's the spiel of where conscious conversion comes from, the name.
So can you tell us a little bit about your story and how this even happened? Because when we talk about conscious conversion, I think, and every time I've ever talked about it, it's the most magical agency. You know, whenever I describe it, I'm like, I work for a multimedia marketing agency, but it's not corporate. It's not what you think it is. We're very much based in spirit, and everything we do is led by spirit. It's led by, spirit really is the best way to explain this. And anytime I tell someone that, they're like, how did you, I didn't even know, how does that even exist? So can you tell us how this even came about, but tell us more like your story. So your spiritual awakening story of how you went from more old world Sarah to new world, building the new paradigm, wanting to see this kind of thing out in the world.
Gosh, that story could be an entire memoir, right? For all of us. Anytime somebody asks us, tell me about your spiritual journey, it's like, oh, Jesus,
I know.
Are you sure?
I'm sorry. Give us the download.
I'll do a little piece of it and just understand that there's so much more to it. I have a master's in social work. So from a very young age, I've known that I wanted to do something that served the planet. I declared at a very young age, and I was an agnostic atheist at a young age. I was very resistant to spirituality and religion because I was raised in such a religious community, Southern Baptist, Southern Missouri. So I was super resistant, but always from teenagehood, I believed in world peace. And I remember having these, I remember saying, it's possible. Everyone just has to decide. Duh. What's the problem? We just have to have all 6 billion, 7 billion, 8 billion people on the planet decide to be peaceful. And it turns out it doesn't actually have to be 8 billion people. It can be a critical mass or a tipping point of people, which is a much smaller amount. I don't know exactly what it is. I feel like it's it's some 10% or some small amount of people out of the 8 billion that need to have a collective awakening in order to create peace on the planet. So I have a master's in social work. I've always wanted to do something that would help create a better world, whether that be social injustice or ecosystem regeneration. And over the years, I found that working in bureaucracy in a cubicle, a beige cubicle, wasn't really for me. Never was. It was never for me. But I was doing my best. And I stumbled my way into digital marketing by way of going into life coaching myself. I got certified to become a life coach, and I had to start marketing myself. And in doing that, I started to tap into what marketing really, really means. And to me, it really means empathy. And it really means like meeting people where they are and showing them something that might be helpful for them, that might serve them. And so now for me, like the whole, like I started this agency because I worked for another agency that was so not on this path. It was so much old world business. This was like 2016. It was so much old world business. It was really about the profit, the bottom line, getting as many clients as possible, didn't care about the churn rate, didn't care about the churn rate of team or clients, just wanted to make as much money as possible. And I found that as much as I loved the marketing piece of it, I was doing yoga. I was in yoga classes thinking like, what's the best Facebook ad for this yoga pose? I was really into the marketing piece of it, but I was not into the business practice. And I thought, I actually feel this duty to create something that is completely new, where we call in clients who are awakening the planet, who are contributing to a better world, and we treat them with total love and respect, not as numbers. And we have a team that works in joy and fulfillment. And that is our bottom line. Obviously, we need the profitability too, but I had to just go on trust that would follow the ethos that I was wanting to employ. So that's one piece of the journey that leaves out infinite other parts.
So when we talk about building the new earth, for you, what does that mean? Because sometimes I feel like we hear that term thrown around a lot, but it feels kind of ethereal. So can you concretize that for us, at least in the eyes of Sarah and in the eyes of what you want with this podcast?
Thank you for that question, my love. So part of the purpose of this podcast is to uncover the answers to that question. I do not know what the new earth looks like. To me, it's a mystery unfolding, and it's the most exciting journey that we could be here for. I do believe, I have my wavering moments because I am a skeptic at heart, but I do believe that we chose to be on this planet. Our souls, our spirits chose to believe on the planet at this time during a beautiful awakening moment, a leap in our evolutionary growth. And it's a really, really exciting time to be alive in our bodies. It's also, stimulating, challenging, difficult at times. But I hope that what the new earth looks like, what I believe it looks like, is living in harmony with nature and somehow leveraging the technology that we have in a way that contributes to harmony with nature. So I'm obviously not throwing out computers and, platforms and digital marketing and social media and internet. Like, I feel like these are the technologies of our time. These, whereas Atlantis had, acoustics and vibration and sound, we have this internet thing where we can communicate with each other across the globe. How can we leverage that technology in a way that serves the evolution of humanity and serves the planet in a way that contributes to a thriving ecology with lots of diverse wildlife and animals and all the good stuff that we love?
So how do you balance? I mean, I think it's so, like you just said in there, you have moments of wavering, right? Like, we have this vision that we work towards and we try to embody the frequency of that vision as often as we can. But then there are times when like life is kind of crazy. Can we cuss on this podcast?
Fuck yeah, man. I
Okay,
think
good.
let's just be as real as we possibly can, because that's when all
Okay,
the good
good.
stuff comes out. Yeah.
Life can get fucking crazy and wild. And it gets my sister always says, life feels really lifey right now. So in those moments where it feels like the doom and gloom, and moments where hope feels like it, especially right now, I mean, we've been through, is it 2 years now? Time is but a concept to me, but like 2 of the hardest years. I think a lot of amazingness came out of it, but it was hard for a lot of people. In those moments where it feels like the reality is just too real, the reality of the, like, I don't want to say darkness, but like the harsh reality is too real. How do you maintain the vision for continuing to move forward? And like, what do you do?
Well, so, okay, the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm and vice versa. And so I can speak to this, I'm going to speak to this right now as a reflection of my own microcosm in my own life, right? So I have been, a few times in my life, I have been in that dark night of the soul where everything feels completely insurmountable, hopeless, despairing, and there's no way to get from A to B. There's no linear path to get from, for what we're talking about is the collective, from the old way of doing things to the new earth. Like, how is that even possible? Or from, going to a 9-to-5 job in a beige cubicle and going through a separation with one's husband and all of this, to living in Costa Rica, with a digital marketing agency. Like, how on earth does one get from A to B? And in those moments, and you don't always know what B looks like. I had no idea what my world was going to be like when I was in that moment of despair. And how I pull myself up from that is, I mean, it's a very specific, for me, morning practice, and it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. But for me, and I think this might be true for the collective too, I have to pull my own damn self out of my doldrums. I have to do the things that bring me joy and pleasure, no matter what is happening around me. And I have to do it all the time. So, I had fallen off my morning routine wagon, I think, for a few months, and I recently picked it back up. And it means getting up at 5 a.m., putting in my AirPods and listening to music, expressing myself through dance, movement, chanting prayers, lighting candles, drawing cards, crying, yelling, shaking, breathing, and doing that for, as long as I am able to. So on the micro level, that's what I have to do, is I have to pull myself out. And then once I've expressed everything I need to express, I can start channeling what it is that is my divine purpose. And it starts to come through, and I start to realize, oh my God, the reason things are so hard right now is because this isn't fully aligned with who I am. So something needs to shift. So then I start to pray, like, what do I need to shift in my life in order to be more on purpose? And I think as a collective, if we could all do that for our own lives and for the planet, that is how we get through this. We continuously pick ourselves up, express whatever we need to express, and pray for guidance and for alignment. And then as we go through that, to express, to inspire others, if we feel called to tell others about it. And that's part of what the conscious conversion thing is all about, is like, it only takes one person. I've had so many moments in my life where it just took one person sharing a book with me, sharing a quote with me, telling me something that resonated so deeply with my heart that it transformed me forever.
And something that really stuck out to me that I feel like you didn't mention, but it's just such a part of who you are that you're like, probably don't even think to say, is like, you have this line that I say to myself all the time, is weave with what is. Weave with what is. And I think that one of the biggest tools that we can master as humans on this earth is surrender. And you've done such a beautiful job and have been such an example with that surrender piece, with weaving with what is. I remember when you came here to LA And maybe we can get into this too. One of our plant medicine experiences as well, like that downloaded even further for you to weave with what is. And you were such a, that plant medicine experience was beautiful. And there were moments where all of us were kind of like, what is happening right now? And I remember looking to you, and you felt like this little fairy who was just like alchemizing the energy around us and creating such a sacred space that it allowed everything to kind of flow on a greater level. So let's talk about that. How
oh my
with
God,
the weave with what is. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. That just like exploded my heart. Yeah. So no matter what shows up for you, I mean, I think it's so in my bones and in my DNA and in my cellular structure that it's even hard for me to talk about, because no matter what shows up, this is what we have to weave with, and something magical can be made with it. And it's like, that is the definition of alchemy. No matter where you are right now in this moment, you can weave with that. You can create something with that. And I know it's hard whenever you have, I mean, there's this delicate balance of like visioning the world you want on the micro and the macro, visioning the world you want, and being a divine creatrix, powerful manifester, and then also being in a state of deep trust and surrender to what is happening, what's truly happening. And you can't be in denial about that. What's truly happening is there are ways that we're destroying our planet. What's truly happening is that there is an epidemic. What's truly happening is that there's also a lot of mandates that we may or may not agree with. Like, what's truly happening is that business is sometimes hard, and the old way of doing business actually isn't working for a lot of people anymore. And if old systems are crumbling and we have to build new systems in their place, what bridges the gap? How do we weave with where we are right now to create that bridge? So yeah, I mean, and then plant medicine, sheesh. I could talk on. I mean, I plan to incorporate a lot more talk about plant medicine. You know, my first logo for Resonate with Sarah was based on my plant medicine experience in Peru at Chavin de Huantar with the Huachuma San Pedro. That was my logo for 2.5 years. It's so, I consider plant medicine to be, when it's done with intention and in ceremony, to be a way for Mother Earth to speak to us directly and explicitly. It can also be like a psychedelic party thing, but that's not what it's here for. What it's here for is to be a conduit for Mother Earth to talk directly to us. And my dedication is that this podcast, this vessel, my body, my agency, and whatever else I create and whatever else I'm a part of, to be a channel for Mother Earth and for the awakening of humanity and our own divinity.
How do you tie that plant medicine, fairy, shaman identity in with how you work with in the real world? Because you're also like very grounded. You are very grounded. You have these big dreams and you have one foot on one dimension, but you also have another foot on this dimension, which I think is like such a beautiful balance that it can be really easy to get when you believe in the 5D world and in other dimensions and you've seen other things in plant medicine experiences. It can be really easy to get caught up in that. Right. But you have a really good way of grounding it and bringing it back into this earth and tying it into how you operate in the 3D every day and tying it into your business. Can you talk a little bit about how you like plant medicine with your business? Like, how do those tie in? How do you see that manifesting?
Well, I don't know. This is part of the mystery unfolding. I do think that part of my purpose on this planet is to bring sort of multidimensional concepts in a grounded way to the earthly realm. I think that's part of my Taurian, my Taurus sort of makeup, is to do that. So again, it's like essential to my DNA, to my cellular structure to work in that way. And it's almost completely necessary. I would say that in the last several months, I have been so in my business and less in my ethereal realm. And it has had a really huge impact on my own vibration and my own mental health. And so I realized that I had to reintegrate that ethereal realm back into my world. And then suddenly my business starts to do better. So I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I know for me that it is part of my inherent makeup that I have to traverse both worlds, that I have to be in both worlds at the same time. I have to be both grounded and ethereal at the same time, or I stop functioning.
I mean, honestly, so something that I always say about you is, I forget what year I said, but I'm like, Sarah lives in 2020, 2030, whatever. I always say that you live in the future. I have never seen someone operate how you do. Like, my mom always makes a joke, and I've told you that I'm like the fastest person she's ever seen. And I'm like, you have not met Sarah. You somehow are a single mother living in Costa Rica, and for a large portion of that, on and off grid community where life is like a lot harder. It's a lot harder trying to find Wi-Fi, trying to all of these things that come with that. And you're a business owner and you have these big dreams. And I'm like, you, to me, I have this like image of you as like an octopus who has all these legs, and somehow you make it happen. You have this big energy. And I believe that you have been able to do all that because you live in two dimensions at once, because you exist in this world where it's such a frequency. To do what you've done, I feel like that to do what you've done, someone only living in the 3D realm and hustling and moving and moving and moving, they would crumble. You know, like you've been able to balance so many things and make them amazing too. Like, you don't just do it, you are amazing at them. And you blow them out of the water, you know, and I think that is because you fully have such a strong relationship with that, with the other dimensions, whatever dimension that is. A lot of people talk about 5D, so I don't know 5D. I'm not as knowledgeable about what the dimensions are, you know, but yeah, that's something that I've seen in you. This isn't really so much a question as it is just a reflection of how real that is and how much I've seen someone accomplish and how you just continue to accomplish even more, but have such a spirit of, like, it's just so possible.
Thank you for your extreme generosity of spirit, Valentina.
I'm Sarah's biggest fan, you guys.
Well, I want to reflect back to you. Just, I mean, like, it's a mutual admiration society. And there's a reason why I brought you on here. And it's not so you can float my boat or, you know, boost an ego or something like that. It's because I feel like I can be my true self with you, my true authentic self with you. And that you bring a lot of generosity of spirit, compassion, and intelligence, and creativity and brilliance to the table that I'm so grateful for in the agency and in my life, and now the podcast. So thank you for all those kind words. And back at you, baby.
Oh, thank you.
So I feel like we don't need to like go on and on and on for this first episode. I really just want to like set the tone for this is going to be very conversational, very organic. We're going to be talking about continued conversations about plant medicine, Mother Earth, Gaia, what the hell that is. What is the 5D and the 3D, and what are all the other dimensions? Because I don't think that it's just 3D and 5D. I think there's a whole lot more going on that we need to tap into and that we are tapping into. And, you know, what is the new Earth like? What is it? And how can we get there? And how is marketing a tool to help us get there? And like, we can talk some about Facebook and Instagram ads like I did with the previous iteration of conscious conversion, but only if it's organic and feels like aligned with spirit to talk about it. But that is one tool. Those things are a tool that we can use to reach. Here's one of my spiels that people who've been following me have heard a million times. There are, 7-8 billion people on the planet now. Tons of us, so many of us. We're all here for the show. Over 2 billion of them are on Facebook and Instagram. Even more when you look across additional platforms. That's way more than what we need to create a critical mass or a tipping point on this planet, to create real, lasting transformation on this planet on a collective level. So we can use these tools, whether you love the rulers that preside over the social media platforms or not, or if you hate them, we can use these master's tools, or they're not really our master, by the way. We are our own master, but we can use these tools to dismantle the master's house. And we can use these tools to reach the mainstream and consciously convert them, and consciously convert ourselves, and use our voice to help awaken ourselves and to help awaken the planet, channeling the cosmic realms, the angels of the cosmic realms, and the Gaian nature of Mother Earth to create whatever shift is happening. Because honestly, if we don't, it's kind of a matter of survival.
Don't worry, everyone.
Don't worry, everyone. But we're here to find the joy and the pleasure, and to dance and to sing and to talk with one another and to support each other and to hold each other up through whatever the fuck is going on in the world.
And that's something, just want to add one more note to this that I love about you, and why I'm so excited that you're doing this podcast, because I fully believe, we've all heard you are a collection of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I also think that has a lot to do with the podcast you listen to. It doesn't have to be physical people. It can be just the energies that you surround yourself with. And you bring this playfulness to very deep, real, sometimes heavy conversations, which is so needed. It's so needed, because part of our evolution is to hold on to that childlike spirit that is our creative energy. It's so much of what we used to create, so much of what we used to build. So I think that's really important. And I'm really happy that everyone else gets to have you surrounding them like I have you, because we work together, we talk all the time, we're friends, all of the above. So thank you for who you be. Thank you for this podcast. I'm so excited to see the evolution of it. And thank you for bringing me on to do the first episode with you.
Let's get this party started. And I look forward to many more. I know you've got a lot on your plate with your own life. So I'm so grateful that you joined this conversation, and I look forward to many more. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Bye, everyone. Mwah.
Bye. We love you.
We love you.